You've already heard that Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger walked away from the International Criminal Court. Now that's old news, but there is more that most people didn't really notice. 3 days before that announcement, Brussels voted against Burkina Faso. Days later, Burkina announced one of its biggest military operations ever. Then came the ICC decision. 3 separate headlines. Most people treated them as unrelated. They weren't, once you line them up in the right order. A very different picture emerges. Now, to be fair, many ICC cases against African leaders started because African governments themselves asked for the ICC to step in. I want you to keep that in mind. But 2 decades of a scoreboard that lopsided makes you wonder, is that about where crimes happen, or who's got enough power to stay out of the room? Now, Rwanda's Paul Kagame said this years ago, and that's long before any Sahel leader talked about leaving. He said the court was built to watch the whole world and somehow only ever looked at Africa. So the Sahel didn't invent this complaint, they just acted on it. September 2025, Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger announced together they are out. They called the court a tool used against weaker countries. The funny thing about leaving the ICC though is when you file your papers, you don't just walk out and go. You have to still follow the rules, the ICC rules, for a year after application. July 2026, the ICC confirms the letters landed. Clock starts for real. You see, nobody really put the next part of that though. Now, days before the final confirmation, over 1,000 miles away in Brussels, the European Parliament voted on a resolution about Burkina Faso. It criticized the Burkina government over press freedom and civil rights. You see, on its own, that's normal. Parliaments vote on other countries all the time, but Burkina Faso didn't take it that way. Their government hit back within days and called it old colonial thinking dressed up as concern. Ibrahim Traoré called it interference and said it was null and void. Now, there was something about Burkina Faso's statement that really caught me. In that same communication, they brought up Libya 2011. They said the chaos from that NATO war is a big reason jihadists are still running around their region today. Now, I want you to flip the finger back. Burkina Faso sees it like this. You, that is, he's talking about the European Union or NATO, that you helped break the place. Now you, the European Union, are trying to grade how we, that's Burkina Faso, are cleaning it up. So in the same month and in the same region, one accusation is wearing 2 outfits. One is political, the other is legal. Europe judging freedoms in Brussels. Europe, through a court it mostly funds, judging conduct in the war. Now, from Ouagadougou's chair, that's one story wearing 2 hats. Now, there is a part of this story that actually blew up inside the country. Early July, Burkina's army says they unalived over 400 fighters in one day. 400 in just one day. They grabbed hundreds of motorcycles and guns in the same sweep. And that's one of the biggest numbers ever claimed. Now, some people celebrated loud, but a number that big from one operation is exactly what gets a second look from courts outside the country. That's one of the biggest single numbers ever claimed, and many people in Burkina Faso and the AES celebrated loud. You see, Burkina Faso doesn't see these courts and these votes as concerns of their people. They see it as a leash, and this isn't new to them. You see, back in the days when France was still Burkina Faso's closest partner, the Terror people were unaliving Burkinabes, and Burkinabe government clearly asked for France to help militarily. Not even help, they wanted to buy weapons from France so that they can fight the terrorists. But then the French government refused selling certain arms to the Burkinabe government, the arms that had to really make a difference in the war, and that memory is stuck with the Burkinabe people and the AES at large. So when a foreign court start asking about how they are fighting this war now, they don't hear accountability. They hear the same old thing over and over again. Someone far away deciding how hard they are allowed to defend themselves. And to be clear, courts like that usually aren't checking whether fighting terror is right or wrong. They are checking who else was standing there when the shooting started. Funny how the safest way to fight a war without questions is to make sure nobody is allowed to ask them. And barely anyone talks about this next part though. The US never joined the ICC, ever. Washington even sanctioned ICC staff for looking into American soldiers. And Russia isn't a member either. And its own president has an ICC warrant on him right now. Washington rejects the court. Moscow rejects the court. Now 3 Sahel countries reject the court. You see, that's the same landing spot with 3 totally different routes getting there. You see, the next part of this story I'm going to talk about, nobody really puts a headline to it. You see, the ICC still has open cases about Mali. Cases Mali itself asked for years back when its own courts couldn't handle them. Behind those files are real families who lost people. Now, rights group calls Mali's exit as a step backward for those families, saying the court was often their only shot at justice. But plenty of Africans see this whole thing completely differently. To them, this is Mali finally trusting its own people instead of waiting on outsiders to decide what justice looks like. You see, the Sahel says they're going to build their own courts, and that is a real chance for them. A chance to show their own system can actually deliver for people at home. The only one question I think it's worth asking, no matter which side you are on, is what these new courts will need to earn everyone's trust over time. Not just the government's trust, everyone's trust. You see, let me pull back for a second. This whole thing didn't start in 2025. It started with military takeovers. Mali twice, Burkina Faso, Niger, every time ECOWAS answered with sanctions. Every time the anger in those capitals grew. Out of that came the Alliance of Sahel States, a defense pact, then a confederation, its own passport, a planned court, and now a parliament pushed through by Burkina Faso's Ibrahim Traoré, or should I say Africa's Ibrahim Traoré. You see, leaving the ICC isn't one decision sitting alone. It's a brick they have been laying since the first military takeover. A parliament, a passport, a court in the works, and now walking away from the one court that used to sit above all 3. The AES is building something to work towards. You see, this whole thing matters past the Sahel too. And honestly, it matters to you watching right now. For years, one quiet reason investors avoided parts of Africa wasn't the economy. It was not knowing who enforces a deal when it goes bad. If AES builds courts people actually trust, that alone changes the map for the whole region. And if those same courts end up being run by the exact people facing the accusations, trust falls apart just as fast as it got built. Sovereignty without real courts just moves the race to a new address. So are these 3 governments dodging justice, or did we just watch Africa decide who holds the gavel? I think it's both at the same time, and my guess, I think other African countries are watching, weighing the same door. I want you to tell me who moves next, and tell me what it would actually take to build the court the whole continent trusts. Not just 3 governments. That conversation matters more than the headline you scrolled past this week. I'll see you in my next video. I'm Louis. You're watching Africa Today, and this is The Strategic Lens.